Welcome to Talking to Myself with Mary Ellen Brown. I'm your host, Mary Ellen Brown, and this is the podcast where I talk to myself about literally anything. Alright, I'm talking about Loki some more because it was just so great the last time. This time I'm going to talk about him in the series. I don't think I'm going to get to episode 6 because episode 6, a lot happens. Yeah, so I think that's going to be its separate episode. So I'm just going episodes 1 through 5 here. Alright, so I got my list of Loki quotes that I wrote down the last time I watched Loki, which was like last week. I finished it 2 days ago. So, my first quote, okay. Before we get into the quotes, I do have some stuff to say. So there's a few things that make Loki, in the Loki series, Loki. That's a lot of Loki. Okay, so the first thing is the TVA. Just the TVA existing. Okay. And then the second thing is Mobius, and the third thing is Sylvie. And now I can't think of the fourth thing, so we're saying there's 3 things. What is the fourth thing? Well, I can't think of it, so it doesn't matter. If it was really important, I would remember it, right? That's not really how that works. Okay, so let's explain that. So the first thing, the TVA. Oh, okay, hold on, I just remember what the fourth thing was. It's not as important as the other things, which is why I didn't remember it immediately. The fourth thing is watching his entire life, like on the recording in the time theater. Yeah, that. So the first thing, the TVA, Loki for his entire life has considered himself to be like the greatest person in the universe. So, quote from the first episode, "Is this the greatest power in the universe?" That is my favorite Loki quote from episode 1. It's so, because it hits really hard. It's not really supposed to be a good characterization quote. It's kind of just establishing that the TVA is really powerful, but it hits Loki really hard. Because he's kind of realizing for the first time that he's not the greatest power in the universe. The TVA is greater than everything. And you could just hear the emotion in his voice when he asks if it's the greatest power in the universe. Because it's this huge, overbearing organization that he had no knowledge of, and it just, like, pulled him out of his life and really diminished him, like, a lot. Really broke him down. And the entire series, that's what's happening to Loki. He's being broken repeatedly. And then we have Mobius and Sylvie coming in that are building him back up, and building him back up differently than he was in the first place. That's why I love this series. Okay, I think I'm going to go through some of the quotes, because I kind of already started doing that. Okay, so the first quote is kind of to establish where Loki was coming in, because of what happened in Endgame, when he in 2012, the Battle of New York, where he was trying to take over the world, take over Earth. So this quote is, "I only came into possession of the Tesseract because the Avengers traveled through time, no doubt in a last-ditch effort to stave off my ascent to God King." It just really shows how Loki thinks that he is the greatest person in the universe and everything revolves around him, which it should. Wait, hold on. No, but he's great. Yeah, so that's a really good quote to kind of establish where he is coming into the series. This next quote also kind of is an example of the TVA breaking him. It's a Ravonna Renslayer quote. She says, "It's not your story, Mr. Laufeyson. It never was." That kind of just like, because it is his story. Well, the Loki series is quite literally his story. But yeah, it really never, up until this point, has been his story. It's always been Thor's story or the Avengers story. It's really true, and it kind of, Loki has never really realized that because he's the center of his own universe, like everyone is. This quote's really good too. This is a Mobius quote. He says, "For someone born to rule, you sure do lose a lot. You might even say it's in your nature." That's a good one. It's not all that complicated. It's just, he does lose a lot. And yeah, it's kind of just, Loki never really, like, confronted that exactly. So that kind of just, like, hit him hard. The next quote is, this one's really good too. All of them are really good, and that's why I wrote them down. You weren't born to be a king, Loki. You were born to cause pain and suffering and death. Also, that others can achieve the best versions of themselves. That one hits especially hard, because it's because Loki, how do I explain this? Because he's literally telling him that he's not supposed to be a good person. He's only there for other people. Like, that really just diminishes him. That completely, like, yeah, can you imagine just being told that all you do is cause pain and suffering and death? Like, that hit him really hard. And it's all for other people. It's not about you, especially someone like Loki, who everything is about him. That hits really hard. The next quote is this the greatest power in the universe? And that quote, if there's a really important quote on this list, I make it green, because Loki. That quote is green because it hits so hard. Just him, like, putting everything in perspective for him, just because everything was just him, and then this huge organization that's just so much bigger than him, that he's so small to that organization. It's just really hits him really hard, and subsequently hits me really hard. The next thing isn't actually a quote. It's just him crying while watching his file, his whole life, his death specifically. Him watching his own death is the fourth thing on the list that makes Loki and the Loki series Loki. Because that, again, goes along with the TVA being so huge, is really just showing him that he's not the main character. Even though he is in the series. It's weird how it takes him actually being the main character for him to realize he's not the main character. He never has been the main character in the past, because he dies literally, last time I watched Infinity War, I made a point of looking at the timestamp when Loki's neck snapped. 9 minutes, 14 seconds. He didn't even make it to the 10-minute mark in Infinity War. We don't need to talk about Infinity War, because I'm going to start crying. I already talked about Infinity War. But, like, the fact that he died, like he was just, like, his neck was just snapped. And that was it. Like, that hit Loki really hard when he saw that happen. That would hit anyone really hard, just watching yourself be killed. Like, yeah. Okay, so, oh wait, there's one last quote in episode 1. I thought I was on to the next episode. Okay. This quote, okay. I'm just gonna read it. I don't enjoy hurting people. I don't enjoy it. I do it because I have to, because I've had to, because it's part of the illusion. It's the cruel, elaborate trick conjured by the weak to inspire fear. Okay, that's right at the end of episode 1, and he says it to Mobius, and it's after he watches his death scene, because all these are in chronological order. So that watching his death scene and realizing he's not the most important person in the universe really allowed him to open up and, like, be vulnerable and really talk about all that stuff with Mobius. Because earlier in the episode, Mobius was asking him if he enjoys hurting people, and so he literally just answered that question. And he explains a very core part of himself, that he's weak, and everything he does is to inspire fear. It's a really good quote. It's not really as deep as some of the other quotes, because it's just Loki talking about himself, but it's a good quote. It's a solid quote. Okay, now this quote is very TVA. Loki is an evil, lying scourge. That's the part he plays on the sacred timeline. Maybe he wants to mix it up. Sometimes you get tired of playing the same part. Is that possible? He can change? So the first part was Renslayer, and the second part was Mobius. And this kind of connects to a quote in episode 5, and we'll get to that, where, like, can he change? Because of the TVA, he doesn't have free will, right? I mean, does he? Like, now that's a whole nother topic that I don't really want to get into, because TVA is just, like kind of breaks my brain. And there's a quote in episode 4 about that. Well, it's not really about that, it's just kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, that just, like, can he change? It's just that thought. It's just, can he? I mean, like, for one, will the TVA let him change? And, like, can he physically change? I mean, not physically, but, like, mentally. Like, can he do that? And he can, actually. I can answer that question because I've seen the Loki series. Okay, this next quote isn't all that great, but I like it, and it kind of explains a lot about Loki. Yeah, it's not very profound or anything, but it sounds really good. Mobius, I don't remember exactly what he said, which is weird, because usually I remember everything. But he said something about, like, not being able to trust Loki, which was kind of all his lines. Boom, roasted. I'm sorry. But Loki said, "Trust one thing, I love to be right." There's a quote in Dark World that's "Trust my rage." I love that quote. That quote is green too. It's just like there's never a moment where it's like you definitely can't trust. I mean, okay. In general, Loki is not wholly untrustworthy. I mean, no one is. Like, there's always situations where, like, you can trust him here because he's running on revenge. He just wants to prove that he's right. Yeah, and, like, because, like, there's all the jokes about never trust Loki, but they keep doing it. Thor, you dumbass. I'm sorry. There'll have to be another episode where I complain about Thor. But for now, we're talking about Loki. So, like, yeah, like, there's always times where you can trust Loki, and there's times where you can't. I mean, it's also hard from, like, an outside point of view. Like, because, like, I know everything that's gonna happen. So, like, I know if I should trust Loki or not, because, like, I'm omniscient in the spectrum of the show. Whatever, though. This quote is really good. I like this a lot. It kind of goes with a Iron Man quote from Avengers Age of Ultron that I think about a lot. It's, "No one bad is ever truly bad, and no one good is ever truly good." Loki said that, because of course he did. That's just something Loki would say. But it doesn't really say much about him in the series, but it kind of just, it says a lot about him in general, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about with trusting Loki. It's a good quote. No one bad is ever truly bad, no one good is ever truly good. I mean, it's just a good, solid quote in general. Yeah. The Iron Man quote is, "I don't trust a guy without a dark side." He said it to Cap. Like, that hits really hard too. I just think about that a lot. I don't know, I don't trust a guy without a dark side. It's a good quote. I mean, like, I don't know. And then Cap says, "Well, let's just say you've never seen it yet." Whoa, Jesus, Cap. Like, does he have a dark side? Okay. I'm getting off track. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but when I was watching Loki, I got through all of episode 3, and I didn't come across a quote that I wanted to write down. Because, like, isn't that the point of episode 3, is that it's it's characterization? But I didn't write down a single quote, so, like, how can I argue against people who say that episode 3 is just a filler episode? I don't know. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I don't have any quotes from episode 3. So we're skipping to episode 4, which is where we have a whole speech that Loki gives. And it's great. It's a good speech. But I'm going to have to read all of it and get through it without messing up. Hopefully. It's hard. Okay. So Sylvie says, this is at the very beginning of the episode, when they're still on Lamentus, before their Nexus event, because this is what causes their Nexus event, pretty much. Sylvie says, "Do you think that what makes a Loki is the fact that we're destined to lose?" And Loki says, "No, we may lose, sometimes painfully, but we don't die. We survive. I mean, you did. You were just a child when the TVA took you, but you nearly took down the organization that claims to govern the order of time. You did it on your own. You ran rings around them. You're amazing." It's really just to establish Loki and Sylvie's relationship, and, like, because Sylvie, she's been alone her entire life, and no one has ever really acknowledged her accomplishment in escaping and evading the TVA for this long. And it is quite an accomplishment. She nearly took down the organization that claims to govern all of time. And she did it on her own, as a child. That's pretty amazing. I mean, yeah. But the quote is more to establish that Loki is kind of like appreciating other people, but whereas before, like, it was only him. And, like, yeah, like, he got a lot of perspective in episode 1, and then you kind of see that come out in the rest of the episodes. Mainly in episode 5. Okay. We're still on episode 4 for now, though. This next quote, I thought a lot about it before I decided to write it down. And just, it hits really hard, but it's not really all that important. But it hits really hard. Okay, so it's in the time loop with Lady Sif, and she's not there. Loki says, "I crave attention because I'm a narcissist, and because I'm scared of being alone." And then Sif looks him deep in the eye and says, "You are alone, and you always will be." That hits so hard, like, just in general, like, even if I didn't care that much about Loki, like, that just hits hard. Like that just hits hard. Like, anyone, you are alone and you always will be. Like, Jesus. Like, that's just, like, that reality really broke him again. Like the entire series is just Loki being broken. But if you want to joke about it, the entire series is just Loki not knowing what the hell is going on. It's great. Like, when they're on Lamentus, and Sylvie says, "This is Lamentus 1." And then Loki says, "I don't know what that means." There's just a million quotes like that where he just like is so confused. Like in the first episode where, what if I was a robot and I didn't know it? I don't know. Lots of funny Loki quotes. Like when the little machine takes a picture of him, and then the little guy, that's not a good way to describe him. Oh, I'm sorry. But he takes I didn't mean to call him little. Just, he's there. He's a guy. Oh no. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Who cares? But he takes the picture out, and Loki says, "What's that?" And the guy says, "Your temporal aura." And Loki says, "What's that?" Anyway, just Loki never knows what's going on. And, I mean, like, it's fine. Like, he shouldn't know what's going on. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, next quote. Okay, I like this quote a lot. This was, like, one of the first Loki quotes that I memorized. And I didn't do it on purpose. I just kind of think about it a lot because it's a really good quote. It's Mobius after Loki and Sylvie get back to the TVA. He says, "Two variants of the same being, especially you, forming this kind of sick, twisted, romantic relationship. That's pure chaos. That could break reality. It's breaking my reality right now. What an incredible, seismic narcissist. You fell for yourself." That quote hits really hard. I say that about all of them. What does it really mean? I don't know. Anyway, this is a good quote because it's really, like, it's like analyzing Loki, like, because he is a narcissist, and there's that other quote with Sif is about that too. Just his relationship with Sylvie is very important, and so is his relationship with Mobius, and we'll get to that in the next quote. Yeah, that this quote is really good. It's, yeah, because of Loki and Sylvie's relationship, it's really important. I have so much to say about this. I'm just gonna say it. I don't think they'd be a good couple, like, just in general. And also, like, can Sylvie really exist without having her fight against the TVA? I mean, like, it's the same thing. Can Cap exist without a war? I mean, like what do these characters look like when everything's over? Like you don't really know. because something's always happening, and there's always conflict because it's movies, it's entertainment, that's kind of the point. But, like, so, like, in that context, like, the context of nothing happening, like everything is chill, nothing's going on, would Loki and Sylvie be a good couple? I mean, I don't know. Like, how do you answer that question? But in the series, with everything that's going on, no, I don't think they're a good couple. Okay, so Loki's relationship with Sylvie is really important, but it's not important that it's a romantic relationship. It's just important that it's a deep relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic. It's kind of, that neither of them have any experience. So it's kind of like they just mistook their relationship for something that it wasn't, which I hate to bring Arrested Development into my analysis of Loki, but I'm gonna, because it's that scene where Job says, "I have feelings for you," and then, what's his name, Larry Wonder? No, Larry is his name in Night at the Museum. Whatever. The guy with the W facial hair. I don't know. I haven't really seen all of Arrested Development, but I like that quote. I have feelings for you. I have feelings for you too. The feeling was friendship. Like, because that's really exactly how the feeling was friendship, but neither have ever experienced it before. I mean, like, that's kind of how that happened with Loki and Sylvie. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about their relationship because it's not really important. I mean, that aspect of the relationship is not important. This whole time, all we've been talking about is how Loki's relationship with Mobius and Sylvie are really important. Okay, so next quote is about Mobius. He said to Loki, "You could be whatever you want to be, even someone good. I mean, just in case anyone ever told you different." The best part about this quote is Loki's, like, facial expression reaction to it, because it really says that someone did tell him different, and it was Thor. It was Thor. And Odin and, like, all the Avengers, like, basically everyone, told him that he couldn't be good. Well, I mean, Thor also said, I don't know, maybe there's still good in you. He did say that. That was in Ragnarok? Yeah. Sometimes quotes happen in my brain, and, like, I don't even know what it's from. That happens so often to me that, like, it's crazy. That's not important. But this Mobius quote is really good, and that's really that trust that Mobius has in Loki, like, who he's spent the whole series not trusting, like trying to figure out if he can trust Loki. That trust to say that Loki can be someone good, that is something that has never happened to Loki before. No one's ever trusted him that deeply, to that level. And you can just see it on Loki's face, that, like, that's, like, the first real connection. Like one of the few people that he cares about. And then the next quote, he dies. The next quote is just "prune him," which isn't a great quote, but I had to figure out some way to put Mobius's death, in quotes, like, into it, so just "prune him." It's abrupt, and that's, yeah, that's what happened in the show, is that he was abruptly killed right in front of Loki. One of the few people that he's ever cared about was just killed in front of him. And then in the next scene, Sylvie just asked, "You okay?" No, he's not okay. Like, he has literally, like, 5 total people that he cares about. And then one of them was just killed in front of him. No, he's not okay. But that quote is also to, like to just show Loki and Sylvie's connection, how they're standing in front of the elevator about to be taken to the timekeepers, and they just look at each other. And Sylvie says, "You okay?" And Loki just looks at the floor like, "I can't talk about it, or I'm gonna cry." And that's what I was doing, not because Mobius died, also because Mobius died, but not only because Mobius died, because Loki was so just sad about it. it's really hard. I mean, that's the same thing with, like, Odin's death scene, which should be a happy scene, because I hate Odin. But, that scene is sad because of Loki's reaction. He doesn't have a single line in that scene. I said this last episode. It's important. He doesn't have a single line in that scene. Yeah, he's the most important part. Well, for me. I mean, yeah, because, okay, I talked about this before. We're not going to talk about that anymore. But, I mean, like, there's, like, Frigga. He cares about Frigga. He cares about Thor. I guess throw Odin in there. Ugh. Okay. Yeah, there's going to be another episode where I complain about Odin. So, get ready for that. Ooh, that'll be fun. Okay. Mobius, Sylvie. That's, like, all the people that Loki cares about. That's literally 5 people. I counted that on my hand. Like 5 people that he cares about. And one of them was just killed in front of him. No, he's not okay. Okay. So now we're on to episode 5. And we're in the void. And we have all the other Lokis. that are super fun. Okay, so this first one is a classic Loki quote. He said, "We, my friends, have but one part to play. The god of outcasts. Nothing more." That quote hits very hard. Why do I keep saying that? Because I've said that about every quote. I don't know. It's fine. Yeah, that quote, because Loki's reaction, of course. Every quote that isn't something that Loki said, or isn't something that was said specifically to him, it's like Loki's reaction. Yeah, while some of them also were said specifically to him, and then it's his reaction. Yeah, that quote's really good, because, like, Loki's, like, he is an outcast. He's in the void, and he's not really supposed to be alive. Like, we can't escape. That's a good quote. The next one is a Kid Loki quote, which is, I don't know, Kid Loki is just weird to me. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about Kid Loki, because why? He's not important, really. But he said, "You're different." Why? I kind of only wrote that down because that, like, the first 4 times, like, it took me 4 times watching this series to actually figure out Loki. And the 5th time was the last time that I watched it. And that's when I actually, like, wrote down stuff. It was the last time that I watched it. And that's where all my quotes are coming from. Was the last time I watched it. Yeah, which was, like, 2 days ago. I watched episode 6. So, like, I'm, like fresh off of this. But so the 4th time that I watched it, it took me to episode 6 to actually figure out Loki. Like, it took a long time to actually figure him out, because a lot goes on in episode 6, and that's why it's going to be its own episode. So much happens in episode 6. It's great. Okay, so what did I just say? Oh, you're different. Why? Yeah, that's just what I was thinking. Like he's different. It's obvious that he's different from every other Loki in the past. Why, though? And that's where I came up with the 4 things, and just, yeah. The next quote is, half of it is classic Loki, and the second line is Kid Loki. Classic Loki said, "We cannot change. We're broken, every version of us, forever." And then Kid Loki says, "And whenever one of us dares try to fix themselves, they're sent here to die," like referring to the void. Yeah, that's really true, because that's really what happened, and that connects back to the Ravonna and Mobius quote, where Mobius asks if Loki can change, and she says, "Only if the timekeepers decree it." Like, can he change? Like, yeah, again, 2 things. Will they allow him to change? And then, can he actually change? Like, yeah, that's a lot. And he can. And I already said this. He can change. He did. It happened. And that's why he got pruned. Yeah. In episode 4, Loki says, "So what, you're gonna kill us? I've lost track of the number of times I've been killed." every time I watch this episode, I put up a 3, because that's the number of times he's been killed. And then I hold it up until the end of the episode when Loki dies. 4. I think that's funny. And I will do that every time that I watch episode 4. When Loki dies. Again, like, he dies all the time. Why does he die so often? It's kind of exhausting, but all of his death scenes, like, have a really good quote. Yeah. You will never be a god. Actually, that's not the quote that I wrote down from that scene. I wrote a lot of quotes. I think, what did I write? 2 quotes from Infinity War? Yeah, just 2. So, like, all of Loki's quotes. Wow, that's sad. I keep, like, making fun of him dying in Infinity War and then just getting really sad. Okay, let's continue. Ooh, okay, so this is him and Sylvie talking. This is him talking to Sylvie, really. Yeah, it's that scene. The one that I complain about a lot because I don't like Loki and Sylvie. It's fine. Well, they're fine. I mean, I'm not gonna complain if, like, that's a thing, but I'm not gonna, like, root for it. Like, it's okay. There's a lot of good scenes in episode 6 with them. Well, there's one. It's when they kissed, yes, that's what I'm talking about. But again, we'll get to episode 6, because I've already been talking for, like, an hour or something, right? Yeah, exactly an hour. This quote is, he said it to Sylvie. He said, I betrayed everyone who ever loved me. I betrayed my father, my brother, my home. I know what I did, and I know why I did it, and that's not who I am anymore. That's a really good quote. Yeah, because it really, that's not who he is anymore. At this point in the Loki series, that's not who he is. Yeah, that's really good. It's really, really true as well. He knows what he did because he watched his entire life, and up until his death. And he knows why he did it, because it's the cruel, elaborate trick conjured by the weak to inspire fear. And that's not who he is anymore. Because he can change. But too late. Because TVA. Like, if you change in the TVA, does it really matter? Wow, that's kind of... wow. Okay, I got one more quote, and then I'll wrap this up. Wait, hold on. Oh, I'm going to be talking about this quote for a long time. Okay, so Sylvie, this is from the same conversation as the last quote. Sylvie said, if we make it and the TVA is gone, there may be a timeline for you to rule. And Loki said, and then I'd finally be happy. Okay, I have issues with this quote because, I mean, he just said that that's not who he is anymore. I'm kind of complaining about the writing. I mean, can I do that? Can I do that? I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like this line is okay if, like, immediately after Loki is, like, has, like, a questioning look, like, would I be happy? Is this what I want? Like, that would be good. If he said exactly that, exactly the way that I said it, that would be great. And then I would be okay with this line. But, like, I don't like this line. I don't like it. Or to quote Chris Evans, I don't like it. I love Chris Evans. Anyway. But, like, would he finally be happy? I mean, probably, like, I don't know, just, like, he'd not be doing anything. He'd be ruling, which is what he said that he wanted to do. That it's his birthright. But Mobius said he wasn't born to be a king. He was born to cause pain and suffering and death. Throwback. Throwback to episode 1. Just 5 episodes, just 4 episodes ago. Like, wow. Throwback. Anyway, stop it. Yeah, that quote, I mean, like, but if he were ruling, like, if Sylvie were there, he'd probably be okay. If Thor were there, he'd be okay. Or to quote Helen Cho, will Thor be there? I think about that quote all the time. Age of Ultron quotes, like, they get stuck in my brain. I don't know why. They're really good. Age of Ultron, very underrated. But, of course, it doesn't have Loki in it, so it cannot be my favorite Marvel movie. But it is up there. It's my favorite Marvel movie that doesn't have Loki in it. It's probably... Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if I like it better than any of the movies that Loki is in. Oh, I have to think about that for a long time. Oh, but it's so good. Age of Ultron is really good. Okay. I've been talking for a really long time, so I need to stop. Okay, so that was only through episode 5. I talked this long, only episodes 1 through 5. What am I doing? Okay, so eventually I'll talk about episode 6. Ooh. Dude, I'm gonna be talking about episode 6 for longer than I talked about the other 5 episodes. Because episode 6, oh my god. Okay, we'll just save it for later. Okay, I'm gonna stop now.